What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment. And due to request, wanting to explain the long-term effects of games and why it's important to look at narratives, and because I think this will help people in the future be able to determine who will win and lose games, I am going to here's an official playoff, Super Bowl, and everything in between prediction. Now, this is going to go into a lot of narratives for a lot of different teams, okay? So, if you just bear with me, I'm going to go into how all these narratives are going to merge, just like storylines merge into WrestleMania. And if you know who is free, then you know who, as a wrestler, then you know who an opponent might be for that person, okay? If you know who wins the Royal Rumble, you know who's going to be main eventing WrestleMania. So, same case here. Nothing crazy in week 7. So, first off, let me just start off with the reason I really firmly believe the Seahawks are going to win. So, you'll notice, where are they at here? The Seahawks are playing the 49ers, and let's just say for the sake of argument, the Niners win, Seahawks lose. I have the Commanders losing to the Giants. That one doesn't matter too much. Got the Falcons winning. Again, nothing crazy. Got the Bengals winning this one. The Bucs could win, but I really think they're going to have the Bucs weasel their way in. I could be wrong. Steelers keep the Tomlin, undefeated, winless. What is it? Losing season. He has never had a losing season. Keep that alive. I can see the Jags with the upset, but I went with the Cowboys. So nothing crazy. These are not locks, by the way. These aren't my Week 15 picks. I'm just showing you, for the most part, what I think is going to happen. So, Raiders, they kind of teased already that the Patriots, are playing them, and there's a lot of implications. Now, other teams that have the same type of records as the Raiders, they're not acting like they have the same implications. They're acting like they're out completely. Now, Vegas is also saying that the Raiders have a better chance than a lot of these teams to make the playoffs. Teams like the Chargers, believe it or not, are not getting odds like you would think. So, I have the Titans winning. This is the type of game the Titans would definitely win, in my opinion, with money probably going to be on the Chargers after they just won. Again, we had them beating the Dolphins because of another narrative, and that's what I said. If you could bear with me, there's a lot of different stuff to cover. So, the other narrative is Tua sucks on the road. So, I just think they're going to continue that, and he's going to lose in Buffalo. So, I just went with stuff that's been holding all season for a lot of these. Jags, Jets, I went with the Jags. Keep things interesting. I think the Jets, in Week 18, they play the Dolphins. It's important for that to be for a playoff spot. It doesn't. I can't imagine they're going to say, and the Jets versus the Dolphins, and the winner's going to have the 4th seed, and then the loser's going to have the 7th, or something of that regard. That's not really going to make people care. You don't get home field advantage. Sure, you will maybe in one round, but it's just not a draw. What's a draw is the winner gets in the playoffs. So I think the Jets, for that to happen, they can't just win out, nor can the Dolphins. So I have the Titans winning here. Bengals, I gave this one. This one the Patriots could win, honestly. It doesn't make much of a difference. Their path is almost shot. We can mess around and give it to them, and I'll show you what I mean. But, yeah, the Patriots are basically shot. I do think the Bengals win that game, but let's give it to the Patriots. Here, I like the Bills. Now, we could give this to the Seahawks. Here's another narrative. Why I believe the Seahawks, again, they have to win. If they don't, now they're going to turn around and beat the Chiefs. They could. But we also have the Giants and Commanders that I have losing because I wanted to keep it fair. So, again, it would be very difficult for them to explain the Seahawks winning. But you can see that I do have these teams both losing. I do think the Bucs beat the Cardinals. I thought there was a good chance that they would, lose to the Cardinals, but I gave them the win over the Cardinals. Now, in this game, and honestly, they might lose to the Cardinals, honestly. It doesn't change things too much. I have a narrative for them as well, how they're going to get into the playoffs. So now we got the Chiefs. I got them over the Broncos. I got the Jags again. They get a couple wins, maybe get people hot on Lawrence towards the end of the year. Don't forget the Ravens aren't going to have. They might have Lamar, but they're just not going to be, I don't think, a full functioning unit. They're not going to look, in my opinion, like a team that's ready for the Super Bowl. That's what I said at the beginning of the season. I said I don't think they win the division. I think they might get in as like a 6-7 seed. People said I was crazy, but that's what my Tony Siragusa video, I talked about that. Patriots, again, why do I have the Patriots? Because the Dolphins are not good on the road. Here, I like the Bengals to beat the Bills, although I could see either one winning. This one's an important one. The winner gets the first seed. I think they swerve people and give it to the Bengals. And here, I went with the Titans because I think that's one that's definitely going to happen. I think the Cowboys, a lot of people are going to be on the Cowboys this game. And Titans, like, I just remember past me when I thought it was real, I would always take the Cowboys in this type of situation. So last week I did against my gut, not against my gut, but against like what I would normally do with the Titans, and I would normally have taken them, so I took them to lose, and it worked out. So this week I'm doing the same. I think that at this point the Browns will be just playing for a good pick in the draft. So I think it's an easy Commanders win to make that interesting. Same thing with the Colts. They want to make Saturday look good, but they also want to get them a nice draft pick. So I think all three of these teams win as far as the Titans, the Commanders, and the Giants. Now you can see I do have an upset. I have the Raiders upsetting the Niners. Like I said, Niners, they're going to have to show that there's some exploitable things about Purdy, and they're also going to have to show, or at least match with what the Vegas lines are saying. And the Vegas lines are saying that the Raiders have a better chance than people think. I gave Jets this win because it makes way more sense going into Week 18. It makes it where the Seahawks are just in the picture. It makes it where the Jets are just in the picture. All the teams are basically in the picture, and that's what the NFL loves. I do have the Bucs beating the Panthers. So basically the Bucs, could play like garbage and just beat the Panthers. And Week 18. Now, you might say, wait, they got to be in the 49ers and the Chiefs. That's a stretch. Well, again, Vegas knows more than we do. And I think there's a reason they had the odds for the Raiders. Now, in my exact scenario, it doesn't work out where they get the first seed. But most scenarios do have the Chiefs getting the first seed. So my seeding isn't exactly what is going to be accurate. I'll tell you that right now. It's going to be more so the teams that get in. I believe so, at least. So you can see I do have the Raiders beating the Chiefs here because I think they'll be resting their starters. I think they're either going to have a locked spot or they're going to have a... Whatever their seed is, it's going to be clinched. So whether they locked a first-round bye or not, there will be no reason for them to really play hard, and they'll explain that away. So Raiders winning that's not really going to... So when people see like -1 on that, -2, something like that, they're going to be surprised. I'm not surprised now. So I just wanted to point that out now. Browns, Steelers doesn't matter too much. Either way, Tomlin's finishing with a losing record. They'll just might stall it out. I gave the Bengals this win. We could give it to the Ravens. Maybe Lamar returns this week and he gets it. We'll just give it to the Ravens. It doesn't matter too much. Bills, I do think, win this game. Again, unless they're resting their starters. That's why I said the seeding doesn't really matter. What matters is the narratives. I have the Dolphins winning because why? Tua is great at home. Sucks on the road. So after the Jets win a nice game against Seattle, I think it would make sense that they go and play Miami. Enough people might be on the Jets because Miami will have been on a losing streak, but they haven't been paying attention. It's really just a road losing streak, and I think that the Dolphins do probably a close game, but I think Tua outduels the Jets. So that's why the narrative I love. Dolphins get in because Tua is good at home. Ravens creep in, and for the NFC side, you can see I do have the Cowboys here beating the Commanders, and I do have the Eagles beating the Giants. Now, these guys might be resting their starters as well. So I have the Seahawks winning, but in most probability, it's going to be the Cowboys or Eagles resting their starters, which means the Giants or Commanders are going to get the same benefit the Raiders are getting. But again, just to be fair, I gave the Seahawks the win, just to prove a point. And you can see when we do that, the Seahawks are not in the playoffs. The Patriots aren't, even though I gave them wins that they shouldn't have got. But lo and behold, we do have the Raiders in the playoffs. And I don't think it's a coincidence that their path works out that way. And this is about the seeding, actually, that I would expect. Like I said, some is a little bit off. You can see the Eagles do get the first seed, and you can see and a better way of looking at it is here. And this is what I find very interesting. I've been predicting this. I think Tampa gets in with a losing record. You can see how they basically just weasel their way in. And I could see the Seahawks, people that are Seahawks fans being very upset, or maybe even Packers fans. You see how Rodgers can finish. I like Love, but I think they're going to do something where they have Rodgers finish. See how he just misses? He's literally the first guy out. So I think they can do something where they give him this nice run. All he needs is the Commanders to lose to the Cowboys, and he doesn't get it. Poor Aaron. So you can see all these narratives kind of line up. Raiders sneak their way in, and it's because now the Chiefs here are a second seed, but they're tied. I think they'll probably be the first seed, and that'll explain why they're resting their starters. Raiders are able to beat them. And for the rest of the teams, the entire NFC East gets in, and I went into this when it happened. There's a reason that game drew, okay? That game drew because now that can explain why whoever it might be, the Giants and Commanders might flip if the Commanders beat the Giants. But it's going to explain why they get in instead of the Seahawks, instead of the Packers. And the Bucs getting in with their division is going to explain why they get in instead of some of these teams. So you can kind of see how they're setting it up. And, no surprise, Titans get in, and this is how I see it. And you can see the Dolphins will be knocking the Jets out with that last week. And on a tie break, the Raiders get in. So no stretches at all, to be quite honest. Just, in my opinion, what I believe is very feasible and fits all the narratives they've been telling us this year. So now let's pick the playoffs. Titans, for some reason, I have a feeling Tua sucks on the road. The whole concussion thing. I think Titans win. I don't think the Dolphins advance past the first round. Bengals, they're going to say, again, the commonality, injured quarterbacks. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Nobody would have the Raiders winning here, but the fact that they would have gotten the playoffs is going to be enough. So, we are picking all three favorites. So, I could see one of these teams losing. I could see something like this or something like this. And I bet you're wondering, well, why don't you see this? Because I have to reassess things. And at the beginning of the season, I did have the Ravens win the Super Bowl, and I just, at this point, don't think it makes sense. They have not built them as a team that makes any sense to win the Super Bowl. So I think they're going to want people are going to want to see Burrow duke it out with Allen, or duke it out with, say, Tua wins. Duke it out with one of these guys. Mahomes, get revenge. Mahomes will want his revenge. I don't think, based off what I've seen this year, the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. So I just have to be honest, call a spade a spade. So again, my Super Bowl prediction at the beginning of the year was Ravens and Niners. Niners win. And then, of course, I said I would always reassess. So even though I still have them getting in the playoffs, and I could take the easy way and just say, I think they beat the Bengals. I think the Bengals win this game. I would not be surprised if the Raiders, but like I said, I really think they just stick to the simple formula. And the reason I have... Now, let's make Tua win, okay? Because just because he sucks on the road doesn't mean he can't win any games on the road. And then here is a fun one. Here's where Brady gets like some kind of lucky win, right? And, of course, the Niners are going to win. And they might want to keep it interesting here. I said it for a while. I thought the Vikings were going to be a first-round elimination. And I don't think the entire NFC East gets booted. So I think this is what we're looking at in the divisional rounds. And lo and behold, what do we have? Rematch City, right? These are all rematches. And I don't think it's a coincidence. Honestly, as I was setting this up, I didn't even know it was going to fall this way. So you can just see, I think I have an idea. Now, again, I'm not saying this is exactly how it's going to go, but I do believe this is what we're going to see. And if you notice, they've been getting behind the Bengals kind of like they've been getting behind the 49ers. Again, I think Brady's either going to put over Mr. Irrelevant or this could literally be the week Jimmy G returns. But I think they go with Mr. Irrelevant, at least here. I do think, I know it's going to sound crazy, that there's a chance the Commanders could upset the Eagles. It's just, I think they want believable players, believable teams. I don't think they want their NFC Championship Commanders. It's a nice underdog story, I get it, but I think they want teams that make sense. Now, I did find it interesting earlier in the season, Dan Snyder said for some compromises he would think about selling the team. I said, okay, then I wonder if he's going to beat the Eagles. Then he did. And then I said, I wonder if he's going to get in the playoffs. And I think he will. I don't think he goes to the NFC Championship. But don't be shocked, if the Commanders are your Cinderella story with Heineke. But then we get here, and this is all that really matters. And I'm not sure where the other team's at. Hold on. There we go. So, I didn't pick one. Okay. Yeah, so on this side, I do like, this is where if Tua doesn't lose in the first round, they will make sure people know he sucks on the road. Now the question is, which rematch do we get? I think we get this. I think they send Burrow back to the AFC Championship. That's just my opinion. I think they've been getting behind them, and they're going to ride them again. Now, I think we're going to see Josh Allen look extremely good, and they're going to give people a very interesting Super Bowl matchup. So, you can see Ravens have switched to the Bills. I don't think my logic at the beginning of the year is they are too obvious. But now I look at it, and I don't think they're too obvious. And even if they are, don't forget, for the Niners to have this comeback story, whether it's Mr. Irrelevant or Jimmy G, they're going to need to beat good teams. If they beat an average team, then it's not going to matter too much. So, yeah, the Kansas City rematch makes sense. The Ravens rematch makes sense. But I think we see Buffalo I think they send Allen to the Super Bowl. He doesn't win it. I think it'll be very similar to Brady versus Mahomes. And I think it'll be Jimmy G. It definitely could be Purdy, where they do something like Purdy wins, and then Jimmy G leaves, goes to Vegas or something, plays for them. But whoever it is, the Niners are the only team that makes sense to me because of the narrative they set up. So going into all that, that's what I have. I have, as you can see again, I have the Bills with the division, Eagles with the division, Vikings, of course, Chiefs, of course. I do have the Bengals. The Ravens might not even finish that good, but I think they finished pretty close. Niners, of course. Bucks, of course, who Brady's getting in, even though he's going to have a losing record, I think, and the Titans. And then the reason I like the Ravens is just because I think they want to draw. Lamar will be back by then. And the Chargers, you can see their path is tough. Even if they have another win with the tiebreak, they don't get in. So I just think they give away a lot of the script. And so I wanted to go into the playoffs. Those are all of my predictions. And here's going to be the question. Who wins MVP of the Super Bowl? Well, again, we don't even know who the playoff teams are yet. So it's kind of presumptuous. But I've never been one to shy away from making bold prediction. I think Deebo Samuel wins MVP of the Super Bowl. They showed him crying in the AFC Championship last year, and I can just see them doing that. That's what I'm saying. It's not just Jimmy G. They're pushing this entire team as a comeback-hungry team, but in different ways. They're pushing every character. They're pushing McCaffrey as a guy who carried his last team, and he just wants a ring. Deebo as a guy who carried his team in the NFC Championship and fell short. Jimmy G's hurt. Now it's up to Purdy. This is like the most comeback replacement story I've ever seen. So, Bills, Niners, and that helps us here in Week 15 because, like I said, I think that is the reason that the Seahawks need to win. It's the only way that they would have a chance of having a run in the playoffs. Otherwise, you need to explain them beating late, beating the Chiefs and things like that. Now, they play the Chiefs, I think, in a week, so they're going to have their starters. There's not going to be anybody rested. They have to explain them beating the Jets, who are also a good team. And just games that I feel like are hard to explain, and you have to have meltdowns by the other teams in the NFC. So to me, just between that and the fact that everyone's going to be on the Niners, I think, with the 3, I love Seattle to cover. I always take the cover just in case. But yeah, I like Seattle in that game. You know, there's other ones that fit the narrative. So for the same reason, I like Buffalo, of course. These aren't my picks, by the way. I just picked the ones that I do think will most likely, but I did not look into all these games, obviously, for the next 4 weeks. This is kind of just like a crude, rough draft simulation. But I will say that I think something very similar to this happens, and I picked it where, again, all teams are getting the same favoritism. I even gave some extra favoritism just as to like I said, the Packers. I gave them wins they should not win just to see how they could finish, and they can't do it. The Seahawks can't do it. So since they're the only team left that really isn't like looking like they can do it, that's why I like the Seahawks to win. Raiders, same thing. It's the same concept, only in the NFC it's even more scarce. So yeah, everybody, I didn't want to go onto too long of a tangent, but I thought if you saw kind of how I go into my mindset, maybe you can, when you see games in the future, try and look at that kind of stuff. So that's who I have winning the Super Bowl. That's who I have winning MVP. I have the entire NFC East getting in. I have the Raiders making a run and surprising everyone and getting in. So we'll see how much of all that comes true. But hopefully it helps with tonight's pick because I like Seattle for that reason. Here, obviously, I have the Niners just to prove my point. But that's why I do like Seattle to win this game. So if you have any questions on a team that you think, hey, what do you think their path is? I'll run simulations. There's no problem with that. I've ran a lot of them though, and I can say that it just makes sense in my opinion. The NFC East gets in, and Brady gets in with a losing record. Tua is the one to get in, and that San Francisco is going to be the team. And again, I think because of narratives, we've got the Chargers over the Dolphins. Some of these primetime games, are, as you guys said, are a little more obvious. We got the Patriots over the Cardinals. I think very similar to that, we get the Seahawks over the Niners. So take care, everybody, and see you soon.